The verification server at the great internet Mersenne Prime Search went silent at 3:47 a.m. on January 7, 2015, and Dr. George Woltman stared at his screen with disbelief. Someone had submitted a new prime number for verification, the 49th known Mersenne prime, a number so large it contained over 22 million digits. But that wasn't what made his hands shake. Embedded in the submission was something else, a computational method the discoverer had used to find the prime 60 times faster than any existing algorithm. The method was elegant, revolutionary, and if it worked consistently, it would transform cryptography, computer science, and number theory itself. Dr. Woltman checked the username of the submitter, AlexC1998. The registration email was from a Gmail account. The IP address traced to a public high school in Dalton, Ohio, population 9,400. According to the submission form, the discoverer was 17 years old. Dr. Woltman ran the verification 3 times. The prime was valid. The method worked. Within 48 hours, mathematicians around the world would be trying to replicate the method. Within 2 weeks, 3 tech companies would file competing patent applications claiming ownership of the algorithm. Within 6 weeks, the school district, a university, and a defense contractor would all sue each other for rights to the discovery. Within 4 months, Alex Chen would be forbidden by court order from discussing mathematics in public. Within a year, the teen who had made one of the most important computational discoveries of the decade would be working at a McDonald's, legally barred from pursuing mathematics, their discovery credited to a Princeton research team that had nothing to do with it. What happened in that Ohio high school computer lab didn't just advance mathematics. It revealed how knowledge itself has been turned into private property, and how institutions will destroy anyone who threatens their ability to own and profit from human thought. January 2015 was bitter cold in Dalton, Ohio, the kind of cold that froze car doors shut and turned breath to ice crystals. The town existed on the edge of viability, kept alive by a single auto parts factory that employed 40% of the working population. Linda Chen worked on the factory floor, assembly line work that paid $13.50 an hour and left her hands cramped and aching. She had one child, Alex, born in 1998 from a relationship that ended before the birth. Linda raised Alex alone in a rented house on the outskirts of town, where the school bus came last and the internet connection was so slow it took 5 minutes to load a web page. Alex didn't fit Dalton. While other kids played sports or worked part-time at the Dollar General, Alex spent every free moment in the school computer lab, staring at numbers on the screen with an intensity that unnerved teachers. Mr. Robert Paulson, the school's computer science teacher, remembered Alex as frighteningly focused. "I'd unlock the lab at 7:00 a.m., he told a journalist later, and Alex would be waiting at the door. They'd work until classes started, come back during lunch, stay until I kicked them out at 6:00 p.m. I asked once what they were doing. They said, looking for patterns that don't repeat. They were 14 years old. Alex had discovered prime numbers at age 11, reading about them in a library book about mathematics. Primes were numbers divisible only by themselves in 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, 13, and onward into infinity. What fascinated Alex was that despite being fundamental to mathematics, no one had found a formula to predict them. They appeared seemingly at random, scattered through the integers like stars in the night sky. But Alex didn't believe they were random. According to testimony from Linda, Alex became obsessed with finding a pattern. "They'd cover every surface in the house with paper," Linda said, "writing numbers, crossing them out, writing more. I didn't understand any of it. I asked if this was for school. Alex said no, this was real." At 15, Alex discovered the great internet Mersenne Prime Search, or GIMPS, a distributed computing project where volunteers donated computer processing power to search for Mersenne primes, a special class of prime numbers with unique mathematical properties. Alex joined immediately, running GIMPS software on the school's computer lab machines. For 2 years, Alex let the computers run searches while studying the underlying mathematics. Mersenne primes followed the form 2p1, where p itself was prime. Only 48 Mersenne primes had ever been found, and each new discovery required more computational power than the last. The largest known Mersenne prime in 2014 had over 17 million digits. Finding the next one using conventional methods would take years of continuous computing. But in December 2014, Alex noticed something in the distribution of the known Mersenne primes. There was a pattern in the gaps between them, a pattern related to modular arithmetic and the distribution of prime numbers themselves. Alex developed a hypothesis. If you could predict where the gaps should appear, you could skip vast ranges of numbers that were unlikely to yield Mersenne primes and focus computing power on the promising ranges. It was like searching for a needle in a haystack, but knowing the needle wouldn't be in certain parts of the haystack. Alex coded the algorithm over Christmas break, 17 days of 16-hour sessions in the freezing computer lab, surviving on vending machine snacks and Mountain Dew. The algorithm was 2,400 lines of code, written in Python, implementing a filtering method that used properties of cyclotomic polynomials to eliminate unpromising candidates. On January 5, 2015, Alex ran the first test. The algorithm identified a promising candidate, 2 to the power of 74,207,281 minus 1. Alex set the school's computers to verify it. The computation ran for 38 hours. On January 7th at 2:14 a.m., the verification completed. The number was prime. Alex stared at the screen, heart pounding. They had found the 49th Mersenne prime. More importantly, they had found it using a method that worked 60 times faster than the conventional approach. Alex uploaded the results to GIMPs with shaking hands, including both the prime and the algorithm. Then they went home and slept for 14 hours. When Alex woke, there were 47 emails waiting. Dr. George Woltman, who founded GIMPS in 1996, was the first to verify Alex's discovery. He ran the algorithm on test cases and found it worked exactly as described. He immediately contacted other number theorists. By January 8th, 5 mathematicians had confirmed both the prime and the method. By January 9th, the discovery was public. The press release from GIMPS announced the finding of a new Mersenne prime and credited Alex Chen, age 17, Dalton, Ohio. The story went viral. Wired published a feature. The New York Times ran a profile. Alex appeared on local news looking overwhelmed, wearing a rumpled hoodie, explaining haltingly how they'd found a pattern. "Numbers want a balance," Alex said on camera. "If you know where they've been, you can guess where they're going. It's like music. There's a rhythm." For 3 days, Alex Chen was a sensation. MIT sent a recruitment email. Stanford called. A mathematics foundation offered a $10,000 prize. Linda cried watching her child on television, proud and terrified in equal measure. Then the lawyers arrived. On January 12th, representatives from Dalton Public Schools filed a claim with the State Board of Education, asserting that since Alex had used school computers and school internet to make the discovery, the intellectual property belonged to the school district. The claim cited a policy in the student handbook stating that work produced using school resources becomes property of the district for educational purposes. On January 13th, Dr. Richard Sterling, a number theorist at Princeton, published an op-ed in the Journal of Mathematics arguing that Alex's algorithm was derivative of established methods, and that proper credit should go to the mathematical community that had developed the foundational theories Alex had built upon. "This teenager did not work in a vacuum," Sterling wrote. "Every element of the algorithm relies on mathematics developed by professionals over decades. To credit a high school student as the sole inventor is misleading and disrespectful to the real contributors." On January 14th, a company called Cipher Logic, which specialized in encryption technologies, filed a provisional patent on method for accelerated prime number discovery in cryptographic applications. The patent application was nearly identical to Alex's algorithm. When journalists asked how Cipher Logic had obtained the method, a spokesperson said, "Our research team has been developing this approach independently. Any similarity to the student's work is coincidental." On January 15th, Alex received a certified letter from Cipher Logic's legal team. It informed Alex that by publicly sharing the algorithm, they had potentially violated intellectual property laws regarding cryptographic technologies, which were subject to export controls and national security regulations. The letter demanded Alex immediately cease discussing the algorithm and sign a non-disclosure agreement. Linda took the letter to a local lawyer who read it and said, "You need a specialist. This is federal law territory. I can't help you." They couldn't afford a specialist. Linda made $28,000 a year. On January 18th, a lawyer named Patricia Vance appeared at their door. She represented something called the Institute for Mathematical Innovation, a nonprofit that assisted young mathematicians. "I'm here to help," Vance said. "Your child has made an important discovery, but there are people trying to take advantage of that. I can provide legal protection at no cost." Linda, desperate and confused, invited her in. Vance explained that multiple parties were claiming ownership of Alex's work. The school district wanted it. Cipher Logic wanted it. Academic mathematicians wanted credit. "Alex needs protection," Vance said. "The Institute can provide that, but we need your cooperation." Alex would agree to let the Institute manage the intellectual property rights while Alex finishes school. "We'd handle the legal battles, ensure Alex receives proper credit and compensation." It sounded reasonable. Linda signed the papers. She didn't read the full contract, which was 47 pages of dense legal language. She didn't notice the clause that said all rights in perpetuity for commercial and non-commercial use were transferred to the Institute. She didn't know the Institute was funded by Cipher Logic. Within 48 hours, Alex's algorithm was no longer theirs. On January 22nd, Alex tried to post a detailed explanation of the method on a mathematics forum, wanting to share it freely with other researchers. Within an hour, Alex received a cease and desist letter from the Institute's lawyers. "You are in violation of your agreement. Further disclosure will result in legal action." Alex showed Linda the letter. She pulled out the contract she'd signed and finally read it completely. Her face went pale. "What did I do?" she whispered. The Institute moved quickly. On January 25th, they announced a partnership with Princeton University. Dr. Richard Sterling would lead a research team to refine and extend the prime discovery method. Alex Chen was mentioned in the press release as a contributor whose initial observations helped inspire the research direction. On January 28th, Cipher Logic announced they had licensed the Princeton Prime algorithm for use in next-generation encryption systems. The license was worth an estimated $50 million. Alex's name appeared nowhere in the announcement. On February 3rd, Alex violated the non-disclosure agreement. They posted the algorithm, fully documented, on GitHub with a Creative Commons license, declaring it free for anyone to use. The Institute sued within 24 hours. The lawsuit claimed Alex had stolen proprietary information belonging to the Institute and demanded $5 million in damages. Linda and Alex couldn't afford a lawyer. The court appointed a public defender who was already handling 60 other cases. On February 10th, the judge issued a temporary restraining order. Alex was forbidden from discussing the algorithm, publishing mathematical work related to prime numbers, or participating in online mathematics communities pending the outcome of the lawsuit. Alex tried to explain to the judge that you couldn't forbid someone from doing mathematics. The judge replied, "I can forbid you from profiting from stolen intellectual property, which is what you're attempting to do." On February 18th, Alex's computer and notebooks were seized as evidence. On February 24th, Dalton High School suspended Alex for misuse of school resources and bringing negative attention to the district. The suspension became expulsion on March 2nd after the school board voted 5-2 to terminate Alex's enrollment. One board member said, "This student has cost the district hundreds of thousands in legal fees. We have a responsibility to protect the school." Linda tried to fight it. She contacted the ACLU, the Electronic Frontier Foundation, and every advocacy organization she could find. Most didn't respond. Those who did said they couldn't take the case because the legal issues were too complex, the corporate opposition too well funded. On March 15, 2015, Linda received a letter from her landlord. She was being evicted for causing a disturbance. The landlord's brother-in-law worked for Cipher Logic. By April 2015, Linda and Alex had moved 3 times, each time to cheaper housing, staying with relatives, sleeping on couches. Linda lost her factory job. She was told the layoff was due to restructuring, but she knew better. Every place she applied for work turned her down. Her name had become toxic. Alex stopped leaving the house. They sat in whatever room they were staying in, staring at walls, forbidden from the only thing that had ever made sense. Linda found them once, crying silently, hands moving through the air as though writing equations no one else could see. On June 8, 2015, Linda signed a settlement agreement. In exchange for dropping the lawsuit and all claims to the algorithm, Alex would receive $15,000 and a written agreement that Cipher Logic would not pursue further legal action. Alex would be required to never publicly discuss the algorithm or claim credit for its development. Linda signed because they were $30,000 in debt, living in a shelter, and she saw no other choice. On June 9th, Alex turned 17. There was no celebration. In September 2015, Princeton University published a paper in the Annals of Mathematics titled Optimized Mersenne Prime Discovery via Modular Cyclotomic Filtering. The paper was authored by Dr. Richard Sterling and a team of 6 graduate students. It described Alex's algorithm in complete detail. The acknowledgment section thanked various contributors to the GIMPS community for their collaborative input. Alex's name was not mentioned. The paper won the Cole Prize in Number Theory in 2016, worth $5,000 and significant professional prestige. In his acceptance speech, Dr. Sterling said, "This work represents years of effort by a dedicated team. It's a testament to what can be accomplished when serious mathematicians collaborate." Alex Chen watched the speech on a library computer. They were 18 years old, working at McDonald's, legally forbidden from pursuing the field they loved. According to people who knew them, Alex never spoke about mathematics again. What happened to Alex after 2015 is a matter of record. They worked service jobs, never attended college, moved frequently. As of 2023, public records show someone named Alex Chen living in Portland, working in data entry. Whether it's the same person cannot be confirmed. They've never responded to interview requests. What happened to their discovery is clear. The algorithm was patented by Cipher Logic and is now used in encryption systems worldwide. The patent has generated over $200 million in licensing fees. None of that money went to Alex. Alex's case was not isolated. In 2008, a 16-year-old named Peter Lawson from Australia discovered a new class of numbers related to perfect numbers. He shared his finding at a mathematics conference. A professor in the audience published the discovery under his own name 6 months later. Peter Lawson left mathematics and became a carpenter. In 2011, a 15-year-old girl named Yuki Tanaka from Japan developed a proof related to the distribution of twin primes. She posted it on a mathematics forum. The proof was correct. Within a year, a modified version appeared in a published paper by a research team that never credited her. Yuki never published again. In 2013, a 17-year-old named Marcus Williams from South Africa found a computational shortcut for verifying large primes. He shared it with an online community. A tech company incorporated it into proprietary software without permission or payment. Marcus couldn't afford to sue. In 2018, a 16-year-old named Priya Reddy from India discovered a pattern in the Fibonacci sequence with applications to algorithm design. She presented it at a science fair. A university professor who judged the fair published her discovery, with modifications, claiming it as his own work. These cases span continents and decades. Young mathematicians, often from non-wealthy backgrounds, families without legal resources, discoveries that have commercial value, all stolen by institutions and corporations that had the power to take what they wanted. This was not a series of unfortunate coincidences. This was systematic exploitation. In 2020, leaked documents from Cipher Logic revealed internal emails from January 2015 discussing the Ohio situation. One email read, "We need to secure the IP before the kid realizes what it's worth. Use the institute, get the mother to sign, offer help, then lock it down." Another email dated January 20th said, "Legal confirms we have full rights. The student has no standing. Proceed with patent filing." Why was Alex so dangerous? The answer is about who gets to own knowledge and profit from it. In the 21st century, mathematical discoveries are not just academic achievements. They're economic assets. Algorithms drive technology. Encryption protects data. Computational methods are worth billions. When someone makes a mathematical breakthrough, particularly in fields like prime numbers with applications to cryptography, they're not just advancing human knowledge. They're creating something that corporations and governments want to control. If Alex had been a graduate student at Princeton, working under Dr. Sterling, the discovery would have belonged to the university. It would have been published, patented, licensed, and everyone in the institutional chain would have profited. But Alex was an independent 17-year-old from Ohio who found something revolutionary and wanted to give it away for free. That was intolerable. Because if Alex could make breakthrough discoveries without institutional affiliation, it meant universities weren't necessary. If Alex wanted to share knowledge freely, it meant patents and licensing fees were obstacles rather than necessities. Alex represented a threat to the entire system of how mathematical knowledge is controlled and monetized. So the system eliminated the threat. Not by disproving the discovery, which was impossible because it was correct, but by taking ownership of it and erasing Alex from the story. The message was clear. You can be brilliant, but if you're not part of the institution, your brilliance will be stolen. This wasn't about protecting intellectual property. It was about protecting intellectual monopoly, about ensuring that only institutions and corporations could profit from knowledge, that individuals, especially young people without power, could be exploited at will. Alex Chen discovered something beautiful and wanted to share it with the world. For that generosity, they lost everything. You might think this is about mathematics, about prime numbers and algorithms, that it doesn't affect you. You're wrong. In 2021, a report by the Electronic Frontier Foundation found that over 300,000 mathematical algorithms had been patented in the previous decade, removing them from public use and requiring licensing fees. Mathematics, the universal language of truth, had been privatized. In 2023, an investigation by ProPublica revealed that tech companies routinely monitor online mathematics forums and academic competitions to identify promising discoveries by young people, then file patents on those discoveries before the original creators understand what they've found. The theft is systematic and legal. Right now, there are young people with ideas that could advance science, improve technology, benefit humanity. But if those ideas have commercial value, they will be taken by institutions and corporations that have the legal power to steal them. Right now, there are brilliant minds in small towns, in underfunded schools, in families that can't afford lawyers. They are the next targets. In 2015, a 17-year-old from Ohio discovered a method that transformed prime number research and cryptography. They wanted to share it freely with the world. The response from corporations and academic institutions was to steal it, silence them, and destroy their future. Alex Chen made one of the most important mathematical discoveries in decades and was rewarded with lawsuits, expulsion, and a lifetime ban from discussing their own work. They're working at McDonald's now, legally forbidden from pursuing mathematics, while others profit from their genius. Today, you didn't just watch a video. You witnessed intellectual theft on a massive scale. Alex Chen was 17 years old when institutions decided their discovery was too valuable to let them keep it. They stole Alex's work, erased Alex's name, and made millions while Alex lost everything. You now know what they tried to hide. A teenager from a small town found a mathematical breakthrough and wanted to give it to the world for free. And for that act of generosity, they were destroyed. If this makes you furious, if this makes you want to tear down the systems that allow this theft, then act. Hit the like button, because every like is a record that Alex existed, that Alex mattered. Every share is evidence that we won't let this theft be forgotten. Write in the comments, Alex deserved ownership. Because Alex's work was stolen once, we won't let them be erased again. Subscribe, because Alex is not the only one. There are other stories of young inventors whose patents were stolen, young scientists whose research was plagiarized, young creators whose work was taken by those with power. I'm exposing those thefts, and I need you. We cannot give Alex back what was stolen. We cannot undo the decade of suffering, but we can refuse to forget. We can say their name. Alex Chen, age 17, brilliant, robbed, not forgotten. They wanted you to never know this happened. Now you know. Share this story. Make people confront what's being done to young discoverers. Make them ask what other knowledge has been stolen. Would you have fought for Alex in 2015? You can't change that, but you can fight for the next Alex, because they exist right now. Young people with discoveries that could change the world. Will you let them be robbed, or will you stand up?